Brothers and sisters in Islam, brothers and sisters in Islam, wherever you are in this world, I want to remind you and everyone that there is a great need for us to show interest in acquiring knowledge about the faith of Allah. You cannot worship Allah. You can never worship Allah if you do not have the knowledge of how to worship your Lord Allah, the Most High, the Most Great, the owner of mercy, and the owner of the inevitable day of judgment. As a true believer, you should know that to worship Allah, you need to acquire knowledge of the faith itself. You got to acquire knowledge. This is of very importance. Knowledge of the Quran, knowledge of books that are written on the faith itself, Sunnah of the Prophet, peace and the blessings of Allah be upon him, are very, very vital. Of recent, many writers have written books on Islam, but unfortunately, we in the Ummah have turned a lackadaisical attitude in acquiring these books to share with people who have no knowledge at all. A lot of us have turned a deaf ear on books written by famous writers who have knowledge of the great faith. A lot of people who have acquired wealth prefer to spend it in other things that are of less importance. Several people have written books, great books, that if you acquire them, share them amongst members of the faith, you are doing a great service to Allah, a great service to you, and a great service to community. If you truly want to spread the knowledge of Islam, it is your duty to sponsor books published, written by scholars, written by writers of repute. These are deeds that you will forever continue to benefit from it. Books, for instance, that are written over 1,000 years ago are still being in the system of Islam. But there are very few. Some of us that have written books are not being patronized because the person who acquired wealth thinks that it is not important to spread the word of Allah. Instead, he prefers to stash money in the banks, to acquire ill-gotten wealth, to acquire properties, and he thinks that is the best way to live. Brothers and sisters in Islam, it is not. Acquire books. Send books to schools, masjids, and other places of interest where the knowledge of Islam is being taught. I have written books, about 12 books, all written on the knowledge of Islam. But it seems to me that a lot of people are no longer interested in helping to spread the words of Allah. I have written a book on death and resurrection, the Muslim perspective. This is a great book that tells you about what Allah has said about life, taking of life, resurrection day, signs of resurrection, knowledge about Islam, how to worship Allah, and how to get closer to Allah. This is a book that has been taken to the Islamic Sharia Commission here in Nigeria, in Kano, and also taken to the al-Qura in Mecca, and all have promised that this book must be published. But to get publishers, to get people who are ready to sacrifice their wealth for this good deed has always been a problem. I've also written a book on Islam, the Religion of Allah, Volume 1 and Volume 2. These are very big books that if they are taken to schools, colleges of Islam, people will benefit. Then I've written books on the best in Allah's creation. Khayri Khalqillah Ajmain, Prophet Muhammad, the best in Allah's entire creations. This is a book that is written in 2 volumes, a 1,544 page document, very important, very interesting. But every time you approach people on things like good deeds, they no longer show interest in it. And this is a very unfortunate situation and a very unfortunate thing for an ummah like ours, which knows that you cannot be worship Allah unless you have that knowledge, a very important knowledge on the faith itself. So brothers and sisters in Islam, you will see my books on the internet. Show interest. Acquire these books. Help to publish these books in your countries where knowledge of the faith is needed. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. My number is +234 8033 1540 844. If you truly represent Islam, if you care about Prophet Muhammad, and if you care about Islam and Allah, then you will call on this number. Let us discuss about these books. These are great books. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.